the best, or worst food. What I ate. Check it out at the best or worst food, whatIate.blogspot.com.
Hello, listeners. Once you're done catching up with everything Intrepid Audio Productions has to offer, check out some other great independent podcast shows like the Knights of the Video Game Table podcast. Jeremy, Patrick, and Frank do great work, and it's worth your time to check them out. They're part of the Nerdgasm Network, where you can find other cool shows, including the Super Budget Brothers, the Nerdgasm Network Video Game Podcast, and all other shows, which can be found at extraplay.info. Give them a listen, because good, honest work can be hard to find.
Sort of break it down like this.
Oh, fantastic. He is one of the biggest meatballs on Twitter.
I'm an idiot.
No, that's okay.
Nice to meet you. I'm Mike.
Could you please take back Tim Tebow?
Oh, awesome.
College football in touch.
I don't understand where these questions are coming from, Tom. That's about it for Manager's Corner. Go yourself and with your show coming up next on the Baltimore Oriole Baseball Network.
I made a note about college sports, and the note just says college sports in general.
Whammy!
Can't do it.
The changes that have happened in the Cub organization are multifold.
Boogie boogie. Great stuff.
Welcome back to Chicago Sports Update here on Intrepid Audio Productions.
Just to all the listeners, thanks for listening.
Welcome back to Chicago Sports Update here on IEP Podcast. This is Matt.
And this is Brandon.
And Mike, he has work obligations, no trouble there. So as he preps for work, maybe we'll give him something to listen to, probably on for tomorrow's commute. But, yeah, welcome back. Training camps are underway, have been underway. The preseason is in full swing, and we're coming up upon the most important preseason game, allegedly.
Yes, the one that actually, I believe if you win, it actually counts as a half win. Is that right? I believe those are the NFL.
I think it's a tiebreaker.
I think those are the NFL rules. And if you lose and then end up beating that team later on, the opposing coach can basically call your team a fraud and say we know, they are who we thought they were. So yeah, it's a pretty big game coming up for all the teams in the NFL.
Yeah, let's see. I know that the Bears, where do they go? They go to Oakland, right?
I don't.
It doesn't really matter what it comes down to. So, but
I know week one, Bears and Cincy.
Yes.
That's really where my knowledge, I guess, would begin to take over.
Right. And that's, I don't blame you, because that's the most important one, because that's the first real game that counts for things on the schedule and gets the whole bonanza that is the NFL off to the start. So, what have we seen so far? In the game 2, we saw an all-rookie right side of the offensive line come out and be more impressive than I don't know what you would call them, just the sponges that are out there before. But you would think at least a sponge could absorb something, and Jamarcus Webb can't absorb anything. He just lets it go right through him to Jay Cutler. But he could be considered the alternative sack machine, the negative sack machine. But they're impressive. Kyle Long has certainly shown his ability his tenacity, I guess, his grit, I guess would be one way of putting it for the offensive line. And that's something that has been missing. I don't want to say since Olin Kreutz, because I think Olin Kreutz is very overrated. But don't say that around Hallis Hall, I guess. So,
well, it is that right side of the rookie tandem, Kyle Long and help me out with the other name.
Hill, I think.
Is it
Mills?
Mills. Is it
Mills? Yes.
Jordan Mills or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. They were impressive, especially Long, and all Bears fans were wondering why he was taken in the first round. And I think already in the first 2 games, we kind of understand it now. he pretty much is a beast. Now we just kind of hope he can stay healthy and he can learn the things that he's going to need to know to make up a hopefully maybe a Pro Bowl type of player, a Pro Bowl offensive tackle, rather offensive guard.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people have had him projecting out. He does a lot of MMA style training. He's a huge athletic muscle monster. And from everything that we've heard from beat reporters, he plays with a lot of anger. He plays angry, and that's not something we've heard a lot of from Bears offensive lines as of recently. I'd say, especially since coming out of while in the Lovie Smith era, you just didn't see that. And I think a lot of that goes back to the drafting that they did, and a lot of the failed offensive linemen that you've seen come and go. Mark Colombo, Gabe Carimi, never really being, just two names that stand out right away, never really being pushers,
Chris Williams,
as it were.
Oh
gosh,
Williams.
yeah.
Both Chris Williams and I mean Colombo was a lot of injuries, so I think that one's a little unfair to put onto the team who drafted him. But well, maybe not, because I mean they've done that quite a bit. I think that's part of the reason why Chris Williams didn't pan out either, and why Gabe Carimi didn't pan out either. But I wonder how many teams drop their first round draft picks as quickly as the Bears have in the last 5 years. I mean, they don't have any more. Like it's unreal.
I'd say the Browns. I think the Browns would be up there. The Jaguars, the Buccaneers.
I'd have to look, but I'm willing to bet their first round draft picks are still on the roster somewhere on the roster. I'm willing to bet. Do we have Shep available?
Yeah, I don't know if they may be on an NFL roster. Whether it's I seriously would doubt it would be with the same team. I mean, you could look back at some of these more pitiful teams, and I know that there is. I would absolutely believe that there's a correlation between drafting poorly and a lack of success. I don't know how the Bears have been able to cope with so many busts. I mean, you're just talking complete drafts being washes. Like you have no replacements at any point for players, and that's the biggest concern right now going into this year. The defense I think you've seen Chris Conte take some good steps up, but this is a very old defense. This is a defense
isn't Chris Conte always kind of like Mr. Practice and Mr. Preseason? I mean,
I thought DJ Moore was.
But DJ Moore also had some talent. Like I mean, when he was playing the nickel for a while, he was okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him come back. I thought he was better than. I was astounded that they gave a roster spot back to Jamarcus Webb and never cut DJ Moore. Yeah,
well,
and then they did.
There is still
DJ,
time. Yeah, there's still time to get rid of Jamarcus Webb, and I think that's coming very, very soon. I don't think he will be on the roster week 1.
That's tough to say, especially with John Scott getting injured early in the preseason, and in training camp he hasn't been able to play, and it's kind of like, all right, you got one guy that's injured, you got a drooling sponge out there in Jamarcus Webb, who has had every opportunity to succeed. He came into camp with virtually no competition.
Handed the right tackle job, the offensive right tackle job, just like he was handed last year. He was handed the left tackle job, and he's never been good. He's never been good. I could just probably end my sentence there, but
yeah.
But he, like you said, he's been given so many opportunities, and I think part of the reason why is he looks the part physically.
Yeah, but being able to execute the part is
he doesn't seem to get the fact of how important this job is. He doesn't seem professional, like you said. I think you put it perfectly. A drooling sponge. He doesn't seem fired up, and I know this is a real meatball thing. Like you need fire and passion, and football and offensive lineman probably kind of does. You know what I mean? Probably
Yeah,
kind of does. So
yeah, that's the one spot that you want to have the other guy.
and
You know,
possibly
you want,
linebackers. I'd really like
yeah.
for them to have that
Oh,
Neanderthal gene.
yeah, 8 guys. Well, what would you say? 6 guys on defense. Well, 7 guys on defense have that just eat your mother's face off mentality, and but you also want that on the defensive side, or excuse me, the offensive line side. And I mean, you need somebody that is going to be able to, I mean, in the traditional sense, and just have that imagery of, for older NFL fans. Okay, if you don't need, if Ray Lewis on the other side isn't going to scare you or rile you up, and you have to try to match that as as an offensive lineman, think LT. Think some of these just monster guys, Julius Peppers. Some of these guys that are all pro Hall of Fame caliber legends of the defensive side of the NFL. And what are you going to do? I mean, for Chicago, okay, you got to go back to what? You don't have to go back that far for Urlacher, who I think was more scary because of his speed, as opposed to Butkus or Buffon, any of those insane hitters, Gale Sayers, those guys. So
yeah, well, in this town, because Doug Buffon is still on the radio, he kind of teaches a lot about how you want that Neanderthal gene, like I just said, and for the most part, all the Bears, I guess, legend defensive players have had it, except for, you're right, Urlacher kind of did it more on speed and actually in-game smarts. I got to make that clarification, in-game smarts. Yeah. And maybe Singletary too.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, I think we both agree that Singletary a little bit overrated.
To me, very overrated.
Right.
Oh, yeah. If anything didn't tarnish his reputation, just look at his brief stint in the Bay Area, and not while he was playing, while he was coaching. Geez, Lou.
Well, he probably thought he was playing.
Probably, yeah,
playing
maybe.
Something.
Yeah, I'll
patty
say.
Cake or something. I don't know what that was.
Yeah. Ooh, gosh, horrible, bad. Otherwise, well, I hate to say that it's not. I don't want to say that this is a big year for Jay Cutler, because honestly, I think the Bears are in a very good position as far as the front office is concerned. I don't think the talent pool is out there in the free agent market. The market could be very thin coming up in the future offseason. But what's more of a concern, I would say, is if he doesn't seem to be able to shake the bad habits of very poor decision making, not protecting himself and falling and getting sacked, or heck, worst comes to worst, they end up they franchise tag him. And I think fans are much more, it seems like, just from what I've heard out there, that seems to be a very comfortable situation for fans, for the front office, simply because, well, the talent pool's not there, and there seems to be a smarter wind blowing through Hallis Hall, which is nice.
You've pretty much hit everything dead on the head. It should be a big season for Jay Cutler because it's his. God, I'm so messed up right now. It's his contract year, and it should be a big season for him and for the Bears evaluating him. But like you were saying, what else is out there? There's not a whole lot out there. Who's going to be your quarterback if Jay Cutler isn't? We've seen what this team looks like, what this offense looks like when Jay Cutler is hurt, and it's bad, really, really bad. As disappointing as Jay Cutler has been, there's nothing else the Bears can do. You can't draft a quarterback because that's going to take 2 or 3 years. I'm not sure Bears fans have that kind of patience.
Well, I'm not sure that they've shown the ability to grow a player, especially a quarterback. They've never shown the ability to grow a quarterback for years on end.